One of the questions facing Congress right now, one of the actually really lessons that comes out of it, is that when it comes to war particularly, the congressional war power is very easy to give away, very difficult to reclaim. Back in October of 2002, the Congress of the United States voted to authorize George W. Bush to go to war, and they followed a constitutional process. They authorized the president. It was a legitimate bill, had proper votes, and all the rest of it. What we didn't have at that time was really a sustained debate about the wisdom of the war or about what would come after it. That is, not only just, war is not simply a matter of winning the battles, but it's also winning the peace. And I think you can see, certainly on the Democratic side, a lot of politicians expressing regret that they hadn't been more active beforehand. And now we have sort of the opposite situation occurring with George W. Bush in 2007, going into 2008, where there's a lot of criticism of war strategy. But here it is, Congress really had its one shot, which was to authorize or not to authorize. Once a war is authorized, it becomes very difficult, both for political and constitutional reasons, to change the course of what's happening, because the president has inherent authorities, and politically it's very difficult to try to force a president to do what a president doesn't want to do. In early 2007, there was, I think, momentum building on Capitol Hill to begin a withdrawal. And President Bush's response to that was to say, no, we're not going to withdraw. We're actually going to surge more troops into Iraq. And then what happened was Congress's inherent limitations came to the fore. There was no consensus in Congress about what the alternative policy would be. And once there was no consensus, there was no chance of forcing the president. Why? Because any law that Congress passes, the president can veto. If the president vetoes it, Congress can override it, but then you need to get 2/3 of both houses of Congress. Very difficult thing to do. In fact, Congress has only overridden one foreign policy veto in the past 34 years. That was in 1986 when Ronald Reagan vetoed legislation on sanctions against South Africa. So for Congress, once it legislates and gives authority to the president, very difficult to bring it back.